Thank you for staying on with us. It's the second half of Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Every Sunday, we bring to you 2 hours of in-depth and quality analysis about news of national importance around the country. I still have Dr. Oladipo with me. Emeka Madunagu is still in the studio, while the master himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, is sending in flanks from Meduguri, that in Borno State. Now, more commendations are pouring in for the verdicts of the 2023 presidential election petition courts. The former Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has congratulated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima on their victory at the tribunal. In a statement on his Facebook page, Professor Osinbajo described the tribunal's verdict as a great victory for Nigeria's constitutional democracy and the rule of law. Jide, tell me about this. After the election, we've not seen much of Professor Osinbajo. He has been in and out of the country, and his support for his former boss was not too visible during the last election. But a lot of people would think that since the primary election, that they've not been able to, get along. But with this combination and everything, it shows that Professor Osinbajo is actually a statesman.
Yes, the truth is, many people expected to find him, to see him on the rostrum campaigning with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu once it became clear that Tinubu was the standard bearer of the party in the presidential election. But Osinbajo stayed away from those rallies, including even the ones held in the southwest, close to his door. So it must have been deliberate that he didn't show up at those campaigns. Being a Christian and a pastor in the Redeemed Church, of course, he must have felt that if they saw him at some of those rallies, that it will offend the sensibility, to anger some of the people who have been close to him for years, especially the pastors.
Okay, this is the Muslim ticket now?
Yes, because of the Muslim ticket. Many people close to Tinubu, especially those of them deep in the Christian faith, found it difficult to live with
like
that reality. Yes, Babachir Lawal was one of those who actually even spearheaded at the beginning the campaign, the effort to get Tinubu to contest. Babachir Lawal, Faleke, the man in Ekiti, former Minister of Works, Dayo Adeyeye.
Yes.
We cannot deny. We cannot deny that they were among the first set of people to push the Tinubu candidacy, to give confidence to his supporters and even to the man himself that, look, you can do it, you can win the election. At a time when not many Nigerians believed in the project, at a time when not many Nigerians believed that power will even shift to the south. 3 years before the election, I think, let me say, for modesty, let's say 2.5 years minimum before the election, people like Faleke, people like Adeyeye, and even Babachir have begun pushing. But the matter of the Muslim ticket got so many of them angry, and they felt it was insensitive on the part of Tinubu to go for Muslim ticket. But Tinubu was more concerned about how he would win the election. And as far as he was concerned,
winning is
he
everything.
Could not win. Yes, he could not win without going for Muslim ticket. And the same way that a lot of those pastors were angry and couldn't understand why that happened. I believe that the VP at the time was not really happy because his base is still, he needed to galvanize his base a little bit. And if he went gung-ho supporting Asiwaju, he felt that it could affect him in a way. So he stayed away from those campaigns. And we only saw him on the day that Asiwaju was presented with his certificate of return. And then after that, he and a good number of his prominent supporters also refused to have anything to do with the president. They just literally kept to themselves. But now, with the victory at the tribunal, you can see him coming out to say this ruling is a great victory for Nigeria's constitutional democracy and its rule of law. The practice of democracy in our nation has been further strengthened by the fact that all parties faithfully followed the electoral process according to the law and relied on our courts in the event of a dispute. You know, our nation needs all of us to work together to address our challenges and to deliver the realization of the incredible potential of our nation. So he said, congratulations to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima, and our great party, the All Progressive Congress, on the judicial affirmation of the victory at the presidential election of February 25, 2023. So he has made it clear where he stood. There are a good number of his aides who have refused to be reconciled with the other groups within the APC because their principal lost the primary election. One of them was even on air recently saying that the INEC let Nigerians down by not following its own guidelines and all that. And only for him to come out and say, look, my views do not necessarily amount to the views of the vice president. And that's Laolu Akonde. Whatever Laolu Akonde said, you cannot say that's the opinion of the vice president. And what the former vice president has done now is to also clearly distance himself from Laolu Akonde's position. So it's a very good political move. He has tried to show that, look, I'm a party man. Whatever happens, I'm a party man. I may have lost the primaries, but I remain a member of the APC. He said that in that statement so that if anyone felt that he was going to join the Labour Party, he has made it clear now. He described the APC as a great party. So he's going nowhere. That's what it means.
Now, people like Senator Femi Ojudu at least can come out and take a chill pill and life goes on after the primary election. That primary election was so acrimonious that the former governor of Rivers State, Rotimi Amechi, was even nowhere to be found throughout the electionary campaign. And it was so bitter, people like Emeka Juba, they were nowhere to be found during the main election. But now the election has been won and lost, and we've got into a phase of the tribunal. We're expecting the Supreme Court in the next 50-something days now to just make a confirmation of whatever, and life goes on.
Well, I think I will also still refer to the fact that Professor Osinbajo told us during the campaign that one of the reasons he stayed away, I don't know whether a lot of people believe him or not, was that President Buhari told him to take care of governance. That while he gets involved, because we saw then former President Muhammadu Buhari, at most of the states...
that was the official explanation.
Yes, I mean...
Jide has just hit the nail by the head.
No, I'm saying let's even...
The Vice President might have had his reservation for that Muslim.
I completely agree with him. I'm only saying let's even give it that to him. But now he has spoken on this. Because that's what politics is all about. When you do your politicking and elections are won and lost, the next thing is governance. And like we've said over and over, there is no idea that is positive now that you bring to the table that Nigeria does not need. We need viable ideas. And one of the reasons I'm even excited that he spoke is because he's a lawyer who is well grounded in the Constitution. I'm sure if he had seen loopholes in that judgment, I was going to read part of what BQ read now, but since he's read it, if he had seen loopholes in that judgment, perhaps he would have stayed cool.
He was said to have set up this team of lawyers for APC before the election.
Yes, he did.
Led by Professor Osinbajo, remember?
Yes.
Before the election.
So, now he has spoken. It shows that, see, politicking is over. Now it's time to be good party men and statesmen. I was waiting for him to speak, and I'm still waiting for him to speak after the Supreme Court judgment. Whichever way the judgment goes, I'm still waiting for him to speak, because this is just the first leg. But I'm happy that, like I said, a lawyer who is grounded in the Constitution, that he carefully chose his words in presenting what the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal had done. So we are waiting for others to also leave the pre-election issues, to also leave them behind. And it's a big lesson for politicians. You don't fight blindly. What most of them did during the APC primaries was to fight blindly. And you know, like we still say in this our own part of the world, when you close your eyes to do anything in fit of anger, you will not know it's going to eat. It could even be to yourself. Because if you are holding something that can bounce back and you just throw it in any direction. Some of them never
recovered from that defeat.
Yes, and it can come back to you. Most of them never did because they were
till the election.
The ambition was blind. It was a blind ambition. They weren't looking at ever losing, no possibility.
Yes, because
but in
some
politics,
of them were looking at the body language of Muhammadu Buhari.
Even if the body language was there, we had
most of them felt that. Yeah.
We had some of these conversations before the election. Especially I had it, especially with those who were in the Osinbajo team. Only one of them was fair to that man. He told me, he said, I don't know what lies they are feeding to this man, but I was drafted from somewhere within the government circle. I can't but go there. And my opinion will not count. It's the politicians that were talking. So when they were spraying all they were spraying, he was just watching. Because this person I'm talking about has worked as a journalist at some point. And politicking is not about just word of mouth. It's about the groundwork you are able to do. Some were given undue power to people who had nothing on ground. And politics is about the grassroots. It's about how you're able to mobilize. It's about, this is somebody you want to contest with and beat in the north, who has been Jagaban of Bogu for how long, who has had how many titles all over the country. And then somebody is waking up after 8 years in the presidency and saying, I want to run against this man. It's almost going to be impossible. Or is it a Rotimi Amechi who wants to dislodge him? Some of these things, a lot of people saw coming, but they never saw it because they were blinded by ambition. And that was what happened.
Emeka, I won't ask you about what you feel about the outcome of that tribunal, but I will ask you about the vice president, the former vice president, actually coming out to, congratulate Bola Tinubu and endorsing that judgment.
Yeah, well, let me just take it from the premise of what Dotun said, that politicking has ended and governance has started. Is there any time politics ends? No, it never ends. Throughout, because that's what democracy is all about. Even in making appointments, even in taking decisions, even in negotiating policies, politics is involved all the way because there are political considerations. Yes, the vice president, I congratulate him Yeah, I applaud him for coming out clearly to say, to salute the parties that went to court for ventilating their disagreement with the outcome of the election through the legal process and in line with the Constitution. Of course, we must, in this part of the world, come to accept that the Constitution is supreme when we talk about issues around governance, around politics. And you see, vilifying people who decide to go to court, calling them sore losers, calling them all kinds of names, it doesn't show an attitude that we want democracy to grow. You must allow people to ventilate their constitutional rights. If people go to court, yes, allow them. Well, if the court rules and they are not okay with it, let them seek.
How about vilifying the judges after the court does not rule in your favor? Now you've decided to submit your jurisdiction to the court to say, look, we believe in the judiciary.
Yes.
But immediately after the judiciary ruled, since Wednesday, we've been getting barrage of insults for these judges.
From who?
Huh?
From who?
Nigerians.
I'm talking of the parties. Professor Osinbajo talked about the parties. Look at his statement. He talked about the parties. So in this instant discussion, we're talking about the parties. You see, in every society, even in the US, even in Britain, everywhere, you definitely have people in different camps. There are those who will
denigrate our judiciary.
It's not about denigrating people. No, it's not about what is denigrating. Doesn't the Constitution give people freedom of speech? If you feel that your interest is hurt or your interest is abridged by people's comments, then go to court. But you see, you cannot.
If they don't rule in your favor, Uncle.
If they don't rule in whose favor? In my favor, am I the party? The point is that the two parties, Peter Obi and Atiku, they've gone to the Supreme Court. Haven't you also, you're talking about insults, haven't you also seen people insulting them for going to the Supreme Court? You see, the point is this. In all, we are helping our democracy to grow. In all, we're helping our democracy to grow. And I hope that I said it here before that.
What they call
you see, if democracy was not truncated in 1966, if it had been allowed to grow for like 20 years or so, we would have overcome some of these things. But these are still teething problems. And I believe that with time, we will be able to build institutions, strong institutions that will help our democracy to move along.
All right. Now, the 2033 Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal judgment